what's up? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast Rolling Stone Magazine describes as the one that initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, allowing fans to discover the creative workflow of their favorite musicians and understand the factors to make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are all sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computing needs. Get $100 off your entire bill with the code CPPod at darkfusionsystems.com. Link to the podcast below. Let's go to our feature presentation. You want some fantasy metal? You want some folk metal? You want to hear a story, the end of an epic trilogy? That's what we're on today. We have Ayden from the band Elvenking on the podcast. Their brand new album, Readers of the Runes, Luna, comes out on April 11th, 2025. The conclusion of an epic saga and an epic trilogy. We not only talk about what the story is, get you ready for it, and talk about how the folk style really comes into this album, especially in a song like Starbath, which is my favorite on the album. But we also talk about how authenticity in metal, of course, is the core. We go over, once again, a very deep conversation around the image and the brand of a band versus the music and what needs to be more important in the age of streaming today. And it's metal, baby. So we talk about the importance of the album once again as well, and if it can survive in the streaming world. Because when you have a long saga like this, definitely need something like that. And metal still holds true to it. So you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. When I found out that this band was coming out with a brand new album, I was like, wait a minute, I think I've seen them before. Had to run through my concert list from 2024, and sure enough, I got to see these guys before I even knew who they were. Live open up for Ailstorm last year in the United States. And let me tell you, that show was fun as all hell. So I definitely want to check out more of the bands that were on the bill to see what we had coming on. And now with a brand new album from one of them, ooh, this is going to be good. So the brand new album, Reader of the Runes, Luna, coming out on April 11th, 2025. We're going to end one of the best, most epic sagas in the history of heavy metal with this album. So what is it? Should we talk about it? Absolutely. So please welcome Ayden from Elvenking to the podcast. So Ayden, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone.
How are you doing today? As of course, we're coming up to the release of the brand new album. Just how's everything going in your world? How you feeling?
Yeah, pretty okay. Let's say that we are just coming back from a long, exhausting tour in Europe. We did 30 shows around Europe with a so-called package called Pagan Fest. Still with Ailstorm, which you name just here. Ensiferum, Tyr, Ida Folk was a package of, pagan folk metal. We did 30 days in Europe, all along Europe and UK. So it was pretty long, exhausting. So I'm just coming back to a normal life slowly, but just trying to, we have survived the tour and now we are getting back to normal life.
But that seems to be the way of every working band or every touring band. You go out for a couple of weeks or even a month or two throughout a period of time, whether it's over in Europe, in the US, over in Asia, just many different places. And it's always a whirlwind because you're going from city to city, town to town, country to country, playing shows, seeing many different people in many different places. So it's just a consistent whirlwind. And then when you finally get home, you can finally take a breath, get back to normal life before you inevitably go back out on the road again and play for many new people and a lot of the same people as well that want to see it again.
Yeah, exactly. It's something like that. Obviously, it's not so fancy as many people can think about because, we're talking about, a lot of hours of travels, and then you arrive to a new city and everyone used to ask you, okay, have you visited the city? So on, and well, usually the answer is, well, no, I just arrived there. We need to do a sound check. We needed to, prepare things, and I didn't have the time to see anything but the but the venue. A lot of time, the venue are kilometers away from the city center, so maybe you don't have even the possibility to go there and so on. So let's see that often it is not so fancy as you can think, but the time that you can have the possibility to go to visit the city center, maybe have a walk around. It's always great to be in a new city every day, and and wake up in a different country and and see how things are there, and how is the weather, how is the people, what language do they talk, and so and stuff like that.
I always love hearing stories like that too, and just hearing what touring exactly is like, because I'm not a touring musician. I'm sitting in my living room talking with you. Well, I'm technically supposed to be at my full-time job right now, but we're not going to talk about that. However, we do all have these romanticized ideas about what being on the road is like, what touring is like. You're going different cities. But when we get that reality behind it, we not only get a better appreciation for what you do as musicians, for what you do as artists, going out there, playing shows night after night, traveling from city to city, again, country to country, to be able to do this and give memories to so many people from your performances. But we get a better idea of, and the appreciation for what you do for these things. We get a better appreciation of the time, the effort, the energy it takes to go through this, the time away from home, the time away from your families. So we can get a better understanding of when bands are out on the road, when artists are out on the road, and we have a chance to see them. We should be going to see them if, if the inspiration strikes, or if we really like that artist, let's go and support them. So not only can we support them and make them feel great that they're playing a good show, and they're playing a place that we are welcoming to them, but they can continue to do this and continue to make those moments for us in the future and many other people as well.
Yeah, these words you said are really important to us as musicians, because, as you said, it's not always easy as people think. Maybe they come to the show, they see the show for 1 hour or 2 hours, and they think that is that super circus of the rock star life and so on. But all the rest of the day, usually it's not that that exciting. It's a lot of strain, a lot of kilometers, miles, and as you said, we tour US in last year, and it was there the distances are even bigger than Europe. So coming from one city to another city was a very very long travel, much longer than in Europe. So the time frame was even shorter, so you needed to arrive to the venue and rush immediately to prepare your stuff and everything like that, and then you finish your show. You need to shower probably, hopefully, and then jump into the bus and leave for the next city. So it's not as you said, maybe this great thing as maybe can be seen from the outside, but it is what it is needed to get to another city every night and get to have another show for the people who pay the tickets and are there for you, or maybe for the main band and so on. And you try to give your best in that hour, maybe if you are a support band, or even less, and you try to give everything you got for the people who are there and want to enjoy the night. And then it's the rest of the things that probably the people don't need to think about what there is after this. But as you said, it's not all flowers and and diamonds. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty tough, but it's great to be there for the people and to see, when you see they are having fun, they are enjoying the nights. It's what really important for us.
But it's also a thing, too, you just said, as the support bands that are out there on the road, especially when they're coming from, like, what you guys did in the U.S., coming all the way from Italy, just being able to have people come out and support you guys, see you guys, even if you're playing, not a headlining set. It also speaks to the importance for fans, if you have a ticket to a show, to do your best to not only show up and see the first band play, but stay through the entire band, because there are times I go to shows and I want to be able, like, I have tickets and I want to only see maybe the second to last band, the direct support, because that's a band I really like. That's fine, but I still want to try and stay for every band and get there as early as I can so I can see everybody. And it speaks to us showing an appreciation not only for what the bands we want to see are going through on the road, but appreciate all the bands that are going out with them to make that a much better show than just one single band, one single artist, and that's it. So if you're going to a show, do your best to be able to see every single band. Do your best to be able to be there from the beginning of the first band set to the end of the headliner set. I know there are times where that's not always going to be able to be the case, but if you have the ability to do it, you should do it. That's a way you're going to discover great music, and that's where you're going to get to discover a band like Elvenking when they're opening up direct support for Ailstorm, and I'm glad I got there early wearing a pirate hat so I could watch this and enjoy it as much as possible.
Yeah, thank you again for your words, because this is very important for all the supporting bands, opening bands that maybe do the same live. Much of the time it's much tougher, because maybe headlining bands have big tour buses, and maybe they have hotels and stuff like that. Maybe the supporting bands, maybe there are supporting bands like I remember Glyph, that were the first band that opened up for us during the US tour. They were traveling by van, which was really, really, really hard. Doing all US and Canada under the snow, and the snowy Canada and stuff. Traveling in a van, it's very hard, and you go there, and maybe you start early, and maybe people are not there yet. So we did the same. We passed the same thing in the past, and also now it happens. And as you said, it would be great if people can, since they have paid the ticket, they can join the show from the, if they can, obviously, in terms of time schedule and everything. But maybe you can find some younger bands, or maybe less known band that you can check out live, and you say, hey, these guys are not bad at all. Maybe I can check them out a little bit more on Spotify, whatever, or I can maybe support them, buy them a CD at the merch desk. And this is very important for every band. We are living out of this, because as you know, nowadays live shows is the only way of incoming for bands, because sales are dropping drastically and so on. So if you like and want to support music, that's the best thing to do. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say the two best things to do is go see these bands live. And when it comes to being able to buy merch from them, go and support them in that way. In the age of streaming that we're in, people are streaming music and they're paying just that monthly subscription fee. And we have heard it at nauseum. We have consistently talked about it here on the podcast, where streaming services, while they are great for the consumer to consume music, for the artist and being able to be paid royalties on the music that you create, it's just a completely broken system at that point, where it's no longer viable in that end. And as costs skyrocket in terms of like bus rental, gas for buses, equipment, just everything is increasing. It's becoming tougher and tougher for bands and artists to go out on the road and do these things, or even make music in general. So if you're able to support them in that way, definitely do so. And again, go and see every band that's on the bill if you are able to. You might just find a band that you're like, I had no idea who this was, but this is fantastic, and I really want to go and see them live, and I want to go and support them. I want to go get their merch. Go and do that, because that's how I've discovered some of the best bands that I've ever heard. Or it's like, I knew the name, but I didn't know anything about their music. I wasn't interested in it until I got to see them live, and I was completely enthralled with what I saw, what I experienced. It's something that you cannot replicate anywhere else. So go and do this. Go and support these bands. Go and see every band that's on the bill if you are able to. It is absolutely worth it.
Absolutely. You said right. If you're able to do, obviously, if you can have the possibility, go and check it. Maybe you can see some bands that you don't like, and it's okay, but maybe you can find something that is absolutely blow up your mind, and say, hey, this is great. I was searching exactly for this kind of music or this kind of band, and it's great. And as you said, probably nowadays things are changing, and I don't want to complain at all. It's great to have all the music there in the streaming platform. It is great to have, albums that probably you wouldn't be able to listen to, because I own more than 1,000 CDs at home, and now I'm switching to vinyl, and I still buy everything. But it's very, very, I can understand a new generation going
Mm,
out on Spotify and have everything there is amazing. It's the same thing that is happening with the cinema. You have your
mhm,
streaming platform at home, you can watch all the movies you want. uh, and also this is absolutely great because it was impossible. I love to see movies, and I can just open up Netflix, whatever, and check, and choose one specific movie that I want to see. And it's a new thing. Obviously, this is on the other side killing a little bit the artistic part, because, as you said, incomings are dropping
mhm.
drastically, both for the musician, both for the ones who work in the cinema. But probably we will find a way to make it work in the near future. So that's what I hope, really, for everyone.
Using movies and TV and anything like that, especially in terms of streaming, it gives a lot more of a focus in on the importance of not only supporting the music that you love and not and going to see these shows, but also if you can buy it in a physical form, absolutely do so. Because think about streaming services for movies like Netflix. Yeah, you're going to get a large selection of movies, but they're constantly rotating out which ones you can and which ones you can't watch. So if you want to watch one, maybe it's not on Netflix, but it's on a different streaming service, and now you got to go pay for that one, or you got to go rent it. But if you have a physical copy, then you have it. And if in the future they start to edit parts out on streaming, you still have the raw copy that cannot be touched, cannot be edited, or cannot be removed. Very similar with music streaming services as well. What happens if music begins to get removed from there for one reason or another, but it's an artist that you really like and you really connect with? If you have that physical copy, whether it's a CD, cassette, or vinyl, which is becoming ever more popular once again, then you have it. It's not going anywhere. That's why I have every single Rise Against album on vinyl, because it is my favorite band, and I don't want to ever lose that ever in the history of my life. So I'm going to have every single one so I can always go back and listen to it. But again, supporting these artists when the finances from actually selling music is continuing to go down, touring costs are going up, it's important to do that. There's another thing you mentioned too when it comes to the cost of these things, at the detriment of artistic creativity, because there's just not as much money there. So how do you make money and still do that? And at the same time, we're seeing a number of artists, new, old, whatever it might be, they're sometimes following certain trends or following certain just whatever's popular online, just to try and get numbers up to make that money back. But then the art suffers because you're constantly playing the same stuff that everyone else is. You guys have never done that in the course of, almost 30 years at this point. And that's what continues to drive people to certain artists and certain bands, because there's an authenticity there. So the artistic integrity still needs to be strong, even as money becomes more and more of an issue for artists. And I'm glad you guys are continuing to do what you love with this music and continue to follow the path that you forged for yourselves, and not going down the road of, this is what's popular, we're going to do this.
This is one of the things most important for us, and we have always talked about with our inside the band. We will never go. I would say that we are. From the very first day, we decided that we are making music for what we like to do with music, and we don't need to live out of music and to search any kind of path to make money out of it. So that's the most important thing, because to us music is art, and nothing has to have to do with money. So obviously we try to make some money just to survive, make shows better, maybe have the possibility to present to our fans something new on stage, some more videos or some more stuff like that. But we will never kneel to do something that we don't feel, just because it works better, because people can like it, and so on, and stuff like this. So this is the most important thing, and it's something that unfortunately in metal music is happening a lot
Mm-hmm.
nowadays. There are a lot of bands that are calling girls only because they need to show, maybe have some more fans. And I don't have anything against girl in metal. I love
Hmm.
when there are, great female fronted bands or great guitar player and so on. But often I have the impression that this is done for other reasons. Same thing for the let's say the cosplay thing, where I have the impression that nowadays it's mostly more important how you dressed up,
Hmm.
and what you find that could be attractive for people. I don't know. I dress up like the dragons or whatever
Hmm.
because it can sell better, and it's not what we have learned when we started listening to metal back in the early '90s and stuff like that. So we have nothing to do with that. We still believe that music is the most important thing. Then obviously music is still entertainment, which is okay. You need to entertain people, and I'm totally fine with it. But I think that music needs to talk first, and then all the rest need to come, and not the other way around.
Yeah, we need music to be the most important thing in the core of what is
Yeah,
there. All the other aspects around there, I'll use the, how people are dressing and how people are presenting themselves,
yeah,
especially in their
it's
music or
great.
on stage. That's something that can attract people to it, but that can't be the core of it. And I was talking with Aaron from Gemini Syndrome, and he was bringing up something similar where are fans, especially newer fans, more interested in the music that's being played, or are they more into the brand that the band has created? And I'll use an example of a band that's kind of created a brand around themselves, but I think their music is fantastic, is Ice Nine Kills. They are so heavily based in the horror realm of pop culture, whether it's horror movies. They did even an album that all is based on different books that have horror aspects to them, and they dove headfirst into it. But when you look at what they're doing and the way the music sounds, I love it. There's a lot of people that do. So the music was what got me into them at first. But then when I got to see their stage show and see how heavily they are involved with this, it was something that can attract people, but it's so heavily based in the authenticity that it has in their music that it allows for them to continue to grow, because the music is then the most important part. The brand that they've created is something that leads you into the music, but it's not the core identity of who they are in the end. There's a lot of bands out there I've seen too where the brand is their core identity, but then the music overall suffers and it's not a very sustainable thing. But when bands are able to maybe create a great identity around it, but then the music is the absolute core piece that brings so many people back and keeps them there, that's when you know you have something that is hitting so many different cylinders and so many different ideas for people that they like, but it's hitting them in their souls with the music because that's what they're connecting with the most.
Absolutely. As you said, when the two things together, they melted perfectly. It's the perfect match. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say when music and image and all the concept around the band is perfectly matched, is perfect. I don't know. I can also name another band like Ghost. Ghost, for
Mm-hmm.
for example, they did an amazing image and also great music, and together they make it fantastic. I just had the impression that nowadays, as I said, often it seems more important the other side than the
Yeah.
music itself, and people seems to like it anyway because they are more attractive to whatever they bring on stage, which is okay. As I said, it's still entertainment, which is great and so on, but I still hope that people can still be careful about the musical quality of everything. So
Yeah, it's if again being for focused on the image and the brand, that is much more of a modern issue, but that all comes with how bands are promoted on social media and how attention is grabbed there. People on
yeah,
social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, most people being attracted to the image first and the brand first. Maybe on TikTok you get the sound in there and you get it connected to a specific part of a song, which is fantastic, but you're not being connected to the whole overall music in general, and that could just be one part of a song that hits. I'm seeing that much more in pop music and maybe even American country music versus metal and rock, but it still is there and it still is becoming more and more of an issue. And if you're so focused in on having the brand and the image be the thing, but the music is just not up to where it should be, it can cause what I would say short-term success, where people are going to come in there and be interested in it, but there's not enough substance in there for them to want to stay long-term, like a fad or like a TV show that's just, hit right then and there, but then doesn't have the legs to continue on as a legacy. Music, on the other
Exactly.
hand, and the art that's at the core of it, that has the ability to create that lore, create that legacy, and continue to drive people to the band and drive that overall success for yourself going forward. But at the same time, as an artist, as a musician, that's your expression. That's what you're creating. That's your own creation. So you want to continue to do that and be yourself and have that authenticity behind it. So people are constantly coming back because they like the music that you're creating. They like how it makes them feel. They like what you're doing to them positively.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. The risk is that, this kind of bands or trends can last for a certain time. Then people
Mhm.
get bored about it, and maybe something new comes out, and then they drop completely this band. And what I'm looking at is the metal scene in general, which is the things that really count for me. So,
Mhm.
as you said, we need to create a legacy that can go on. And when the great names like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Ozzy won't be there anymore because they are slowly leaving the scene one by either. There should be new bands coming
Mhm.
out and keep the scene alive. So we need to build something strong and that can last long. So that's what can worry me a little bit. So I really hope that the new bands that are coming out, maybe if there are any bands new coming, they still concentrate on making great music first, and then maybe create a great image, but around a great base of great music.
I certainly hope so too, because that would be the way that metal continues to. It's growing back once again. It will continue to grow
Yeah.
and then thrive like it did back when guys like Ozzy, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden had the absolute chokehold on so many people. But want to jump into music specifically and jump into your music with the brand new album again, Readers of the Runes Luna, coming out on April 11th. And this is the third album in a trilogy that started back in 2019 with Divination coming out as well. So when it comes to the overall story and background of this album, or of this trilogy, I should say, can you give me like a summary rundown just so that everybody else who doesn't know the lore that's behind this whole entire trilogy has an idea of what they're getting themselves into?
Yeah, I'll try to make a very quick summary to
Okay.
not bore, in order to not bore anyone. The concept around this trilogy was born years ago. We had this story in mind, and we wanted to make a concept album. But as soon as the story came out to our minds, it was immediately clear that it was not possible to include it in one single album. So we decided to split into three chapters, like a movie trilogy
Mm-hmm.
or novel trilogy, something like that, because of the length of the story. So just to summarize a little bit the story of the first two chapter, I'm not gonna spoil the last one because
Yeah.
it's not out yet, and there are all the revealing and all the mystery is solved. But just to summarize the story, we are in a, let's say, in a fantasy world, but could be also a real one, in a time beyond space and time. Let's say in this village there is a mysterious figure called the Reader of the Runes arriving from out of nowhere, and it is said that this guy can somehow divinate past, present, and future of the people. So the people of the villages around get interested in this. Obviously, they are very curious to know what kind of character he is, and start to visit him to ask for divination about their life, and especially about their future. And the eighth character of this story, which are the main ones,
Mm-hmm.
go there and got some divination from this mysterious figure. And the divination talks about tragedies coming and death, and uh, you know a lot of tragedy in their life, and that is what is happening exactly in the chapters 2 of the story Rapture, where we notice how all these characters start to face tragedies, death. A lot of them dies. Other are, they are deep into tragic stories and stuff like that. And we start to understand there is a link between all these character and the reader of the runes. And this thing will be revealed in this final chapter, and we will find out who really is this mysterious figure and what is the link that unites all these character here.
That is a great 2-3 minute synopsis of the
Yeah,
story
so
up to where
super
it is so
short.
far. Yeah, but again, you don't want to give away any more of the story that's already out there, because all right, we want to know as a summary, especially from who we are as people that might not have heard the first 2 albums. Okay, what is album 1 story about? What is album 2 story about? Because it's out there to get us prepared for album number 3 to go deep into it. Plus, now that we have a little more of the backstory, everyone else that's like, I want to listen to album number 3, go through and listen to Divination, go through, listen to Rapture, all the way through so you can get the full effect of that story. And then by the time Luna comes out on April 11th, you can fully embrace it. You can fully be into it. And you don't have any questions about how is this going to sound? Where is this going to go? What's the overall story? Why is this supposed to make sense? Now you have all that behind you, and you can be fully immersed into the album listening experience, because in a day and age right now where everyone's so focused in on singles, I still want to have that album experience. There's a lot of metal fans that still want to have that full album experience, and you guys are giving it to them in droves with this.
Yeah, that's one of the other things that we were talking before. Nowadays, as you said, people are used to listen to songs and skip immediately from one song to another, maybe especially from one band to another, very quickly. And I have to be sincere, when I am on Spotify, I probably do the same, because I maybe listen a couple of songs from this band and I switch to another band, and it's pretty natural, and it's coming from, I think, this Spotify culture. But I remember back in the days when I was, a teenager, and I was sitting with my CD, looking to the cover, and especially listening to the album from the first song to the last one with the lyrics, trying to get into the story, to every single lyrics, what the songs were about. And especially when we are coming to a work like this, which is a trilogy in 3 albums, it's difficult to think that people can understand on Spotify listening, 2 songs from an album, 2 from another one, maybe the singles and stuff like that. It is something, that we know that probably, especially young generation, won't understand, and probably they won't have the patience to stay there and listen to the whole album, trying to understand what the story is about, what this song is about, which character is, and who are talking about. So it is something like, maybe that is already old school, this kind of idea. But I still believe that there is someone out there that have the passion to go through the story, through the lyrics, start the album from the first song to the last one, so you can also get the different nuances and waves of the music. You have the fast songs, then you have the slow one, the more the dark one, and so on. And we work a lot on this on the albums, to create from the first song to the last one something that can move in terms of flow and feelings in the songs. That is something that probably young generation won't understand completely. And I believe that, especially for a trilogy done, 3 albums, a story divided in 3 albums, trying to understand it, it's gonna be very difficult for who is born listening to Spotify. But maybe there are people like you or like me that still like to go through the lyrics, and maybe from the first song to the last one, and see what happens, and feel the album from start to finish.
When it comes to the Spotify effect, and I'll say even just the effect of shortening attention as a whole that we're seeing across the world, And it's given just to how things are delivered to us. Every entity, every company, everything is trying to get to us in a quicker way, and they're trying to not take up as much time because they just want it to be memorable. And people, because of that, have had the attention spans go shorter and shorter. I can't remember what study it was, but I think there was some study out there that talked about before the pandemic, the average person's attention span for something was like 2 minutes. And then 2022, 2023 was down to 45 seconds. So it just shows how things are being delivered to people online, promotionally, and how short they are to try and keep that attention, because it just keeps going down and down. But what I've noticed, especially with music, pop music, hip hop and rap, American country music, a lot of other genres have been so focused in on just the single. And then when they release an album, it's just a collection of singles at this point. That's what it is. And it can be used just fine. But then again, people are always just going to be focusing on the one song that makes them, that they like, and you can't fully invest in it. Metalheads, on the other hand, are still fully invested in this. And I know a bunch of younger metalheads that are younger than me, maybe late teens, early 20s, that still love to listen to albums all the way through because it is that experience that they crave. It's something that is maybe a little more of a challenge to get through now, but you still want to have that. You still want to get behind it. There's a lot of people that still do. And metal's the perfect example of where those fans still reside. So even as times change, even though it's getting less and less, there is still a stronger base of metal fans that want to listen through an entire album and have that experience versus many other fans of other genres.
That is great to know that there are people like 18 years old or 20 that are still loves to do it. It is great. And yes, now also in metal, as you said, the attention of the listeners is down to 1 minute or even less. So also in metal, you need to create the single that start directly with a right melody, because if you do maybe an intro, it's already skipped. Especially in metal music, there were a lot of songs with some atmospheric intro, stuff like that, and nowadays this stuff cannot work because people get bored immediately. Also, I was a great lover of the album intros, the real intro of the album, the instrumental intro. But these are the things that on Spotify doesn't work at all, because it's the skip song immediately, because there is nothing like that. But maybe, as you said, there are still the new generation maybe are rediscovering the love for this, and it is great. Also, it is great to see when we are playing live a lot of young people, as you said. So that is what is amazing, because after the COVID-19, somebody said, okay, live music is going to be dead. There won't be any concert anymore. Probably, there will be half of the people during the concert. After the COVID, probably nobody will go to see live music anymore. But that is not true, because we just came out from this tour where all the dates were sold out, basically. Same things with Hailstorm in US, was all packed venues and stuff. So it seems like there is still love for this music, and it's so great.
There is still love for this music, and there's still love to listen to the album. And I got to shout out a couple of my friends, Andrew, John, Braden, Carson, you crazy metalheads, you young guys who still listen through all these albums. Keep it going, guys. I know you guys were at that Hailstorm show, seeing Elvenking with me. We were in the middle of the pit having a blast. But you did make another great point, too, with, again, the Spotify generation and being more in tune to the instrumental openings. They can be atmospheric. We've seen ones that have this great intro to get us into the mood of the album. But because of Spotify and because they're just not necessarily built for that type of platform, they do not perform well, and they usually get skipped over pretty consistently. So having that in mind, you guys, again, on this album, you created something that it doesn't necessarily have really much of that, but it's just something where each song is going to stand out in a different way, and each song is going to have something that kind of, in a weird way, not only just like grabs the attention, but is going to be something that fits for that song and connects to what this overall story is and what's being told. And for me, I always think about that in this case, especially running through the album. There's always going to be at least one song that I end up coming back to, and it's always going to be something that brings me back there. I don't know what it is all the time, but something's going to bring me back. And on your album with Luna, it was song number 5, Starbath. That was the one that after listening through it, I kept coming back to it more and more and more. And it was the use of the fiddle in metal is what got me connected to that song. I was stuck on it for days just because I'm like, this is the perfect inclusion for this song. It felt fantastic, perfectly placed in the middle of the album as well.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, as you said, like we were saying before, what was important for us is that even if this was a big concept, every song could have lived of its own life, because we didn't want to create something that was, all connected and make it even more difficult to to receive by the people. And especially we wanted the songs to be, maybe all the songs can be performed live on their own. They can live on their own, and that was really important for us. That, yeah, it's a concept album, but with songs with their own life. So that was important. About Starbath, I'm really glad that you like the song. It's one of the more folky song of the album. Obviously, one of our characteristic is the use of the violin that we have since day one. Basically, it's not very common in metal, but with the type of music that we do, we wanted to underline all the folk melodies, folk atmospheres, and there are songs where violin need to be really on the spot, and that is one of the song where we wanted to have the violin with the violin solo and everything like that, and that is what creates that magic atmosphere, which is coming from the traditional folkloristic music but put into metal, make it even more magical, let's say.
Oh, it absolutely made it more magical. I don't ever see the violin or the fiddle in music, like especially in metal, much at all. The only band I can think of that uses it consistently is a Swedish band called Imminence, because their lead singer, who also is their does unclean vocals too, he always has his violin in hand and adds to the overall aesthetic and sound of their music. And whenever I hear that in other people's music too, no matter what band it is, especially a heavier band, I'm always interested to see how is this going to interplay? How is this going to work with the overall song? With Starbath, it does have a lot of that folk feel to it and has a lot of the fantasy-driven style to the overall, not only the pace of it, how everything progresses, but just the way the sound is emitted. But a certain piece of the tempo kind of reminds me of like an Irish style violin or Irish style fiddle. And for me, I love Irish music. I love heavy music, but for some reason, I always have a soft spot for Irish music. But it just, the way the sound interplayed, it kept it a little more upbeat and it kept it more towards that folk fantasy driven style. But man, when you come in and think about the overall story at that point, that's where it's needed. So not only in story mode and in going through the album, it makes sense to have that part in there at that point in time. But just as the song isolated as itself, it is such an important piece to drive the energy of that song all the way through. And when you get to the solo, it's just like, ooh, that was a beautiful piece of music right there.
Thank you very much. I will bring your words to our violin player. Let him that, for especially for this song, he wanted you to have, that Irish feelings and Irish way of playing the fiddle in that specific solo, which is with a, I don't know exactly the technical word in English, but it's like triplet, which is
Yeah.
typical Irish way of playing the violin. And obviously, we are all fascinated by folkloristic music, and the best folk music comes from Ireland and probably the northern country, Scandinavian country. But we also, we come from Italy, and people think about seaside and beaches and stuff like that. But we live very close to the mountains of Austria, and we have a lot of folkloristic music as well. So that is where it came from in the beginning, and pretty similar to the Irish folk. So we try to incorporate this with metal, and it's not often easy, but you need to find the right way to make it work together. And Starbath is probably a good example where the typical Irish,
Mhm.
atmosphere with some, uh, pounding drums and
Yeah.
electric guitars create that special thing.
But this is where the greatness of music comes in, where you guys as a band, you have an idea, you have a story, you're trying to drive forward, and you know that that folk style and that folk inspiration is going to have to come in there at some point to really make this hit and really drive this home the way you guys want it to. And it's not easy always putting that in metal, but I always remember someone saying if it was easy, then everybody would do it. If it's easy, okay, we can go and we can make something out of it. Yeah, we're not that motivated to do it, but it's easy. Why not? But when it's tough, when it's difficult, and as you have continued to grow as a band, especially being from Italy, you have the folk style, especially from the mountainous areas of Austria, maybe southern Germany, that you can really bring forward that idea and say, okay, this is where we're taking this from. But as you have grown as a band, now you're expanding. Okay, let's see what they're doing. Let's see how folk music in the Scandinavian countries, how does this work? How does it work in Ireland? To really get a full encompassing idea of how folk music, especially in Europe, how does that create that overall connection to the fantasy style, the folklore style that you're coming from with these stories? How do you implement that in metal? Now you have all these ideas of the construction, the characteristics that make that style great and make that connect with people. How do you implement that in metal with your sound to make sure it not only hits in the same way, but fits everything you're trying to do? And I think Starbath is the perfect song for people to check out, to think, this is the way that it needs to be done. This is how like in depth these guys got on this. And it comes forward as a song that fits so well in the run through of the story, but especially on its own, it can stand out on its own with that punch.
Exactly, because also what we don't want to do and we never did is, take some typical folklore melodies, put some drums on it, some electric guitars, and that's it. That would not work for what we want to do, because that would create a kind of, a punky song,
Mm-hmm.
something like that, which is not what we are searching for. We are trying, what is our goal is always to try to find some magic in music, create the kind of atmospheres. And it doesn't work if you just take the typical folk melody, put some drums pounding and some electric guitars. It immediately turns into a punk song like Dropkick Murphys or something like that, which is not what we want to do. So we always try to incorporate the right the right melody with the right folky feeling, but in the right place, in the right spot, and the rest of the song still needs to be like a metal song, but that can incorporate in a good way these folk influences, in order to create something that is organic and not just putting and
Yeah.
forcing some folk riffs into a metal song, which is another thing that doesn't work, because if you do it like that, it's another thing that, in my opinion, doesn't work. So you need to create the right melody where then you can incorporate the perfect folk stuff inside.
Don't get me wrong, I do love listening to Dropkick Murphys. I love seeing them live too. But
Yeah.
that's just, but it's the style that they're going for. It hits for them. If you guys went with that same idea, it just wouldn't work out. And you didn't. You went with the style that you guys wanted to go to. You went as in depth with it as you needed to. And this is what we get. We get Rears of the Runes, Luna, and it's an experience. So everybody, April 11th, mark it on your calendars, highlight it, go in your phone, put a reminder to listen to Rears of Runes right when you wake up, go through from top to bottom and experience the entire thing when it comes out. And if you don't, well, we might come to your house and ask you why you didn't do that. It might take us some
Right.
time, and we might be like, when it comes to lodging and travel, we're going to have you foot the bill for this. So if you want to save some money, listen to the whole entire thing and enjoy the magic that is behind it.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you need to come with us on the tour bus, and we come, house to house,
Hey,
which
if
is
you
not very very good.
Hey, if you guys need me on the tour bus to sit on top of the roof as you guys are going from city to city with a, PA system or a bullhorn and says all of this stuff and just starts promoting you guys, I'm down. I'll do it. Why not? Sounds like
Great.
fun.
Why not? Exactly.
Well, Ayden, now that, the album will be coming out on April 11th and 2025 in full swing, what do you guys have planned for the rest of the year?
As I said, we had just finished our European tour. So I would say that for the European side of the tour, we are done for the year. We have a lot of festival coming out in the summer. We will have probably Japan coming, so it's another place where we love to play. And it's some years that we are not going back to Japan, but it's always great there. And I think that for the end of the year or beginning of 2000, 26, probably we will see. There are some plans. Maybe US again could be a possibility.
Let's hope
We are
so.
in talk at the moment.
Yeah, you're in talk, but can't give me any more than that. I totally understand. But hey, as long as I know that you're in talks and I'll get a chance to see Elvenking again, that's what matters.
Yeah, I don't. I cannot tell you more, but there are. Yeah, there are talks about. Yeah, so the experience in the US was, to be sincere, amazing, because we really didn't expect to have this kind of reaction from the crowd, and there were a lot of people that surprisingly knew about us, and we did amazing show. A lot of people didn't know us, but after the Ailstorm
Yeah.
show came as new fans, and all the reaction there have been just amazing, that we really need to come back, and we have signed a new contract with a new booking agency in the US, specifically for this. And so there are many plans to come for US for sure.
Perfect. And I was going to say, if it wasn't for that Ailstorm run in 2024 in the US, we might not be talking today. So that's what you got to go to shows.
In the end, musicians need to go on the road and try to show themselves somehow. That is the sad life of the musician. You need to go there, show to people, and maybe sometimes you go in a shitty place with 20 people, and the other night maybe you can have 1,000 in front. And uh, the thing is that you need to go out there and play for the people, and try to do your best in order to have them coming back, or maybe check you out.
That's the hope, man. So I hope to see you back in the US in late 2025, maybe early 2026. I know you're in talks, so I hope they go well. And Ayden, I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the Core Progression podcast. It was a fantastic conversation. We're going to close this episode out with three things. So first things first, everybody listening, Rears of the Ruins, Luna comes out on April 11th, 2025. We've already told you to go listen to it. Otherwise, we're going to come to your house and we're going to ask you why you didn't listen to it. And we're going to just wait until you actually do and enjoy what everything is. So in order to prevent that from happening and having to reimburse us for lodging and travel, here's what you're going to do. Go to the description of the podcast where it says find Elvenking online. Links and labels for all their socials, where you can go find them online, where you can stream the album, where you can go listen to it, and where you can go buy merch and check out them out live. Everything's going to be there for you to be able to support the band and get behind them as well. So I'm doing all the searching. I'm doing all the research. I'm making it as simple as possible. It'll be scroll down to or roll down to the description, find the link you want, go to it, like the page, listen to it. Boom, you're done. Doing everything for you. So don't let me down. Now it's time for number two. Whenever a guest in the podcast or have the podcast, I tend to make a promise, a way to say thank you. I appreciate you taking the time, and I would love to continue to support the band in the future. And my promise is this. I can't say when I see you perform live for the first time, because I already saw you perform live, but I didn't get to know you at that point. So when I get to see you perform live the next time, I will come and find you somehow. Don't know how, but I'll come and find you. I will come and say hi, but the actual promise is first round's on me.
Absolutely. So come and say hi. Second round on me, obviously.
Alrighty, we got a deal. And now it's time for number three. Ayden, I cannot end this by saying goodbye. I love this episode. I love this conversation. I want to continue supporting in the future. So I made the promise. Plus, I hope we get to do this again. I would love to bring you back on and have another conversation sometime soon. So
Whenever you want.
Perfect. This is not goodbye. This is, I'll see you later.
See you later, man. It was a pleasure. Thank you for everything. It was a really nice conversation, and see you later for sure.
Well, folks, that was my interview with Ayden from the band Elvenking, and now it's time for Kevin's final thoughts. So this was a great conversation, not gonna lie. When I look back at it already and think about the time that we had, what we talked about, yes, the age of streaming and all of this is in a very weird spot. It's in a very peculiar spot where we think about what's going on in the world. We think about what's going on in the streaming world as well. And a heavy concept album with the third part to a story is not something that a lot of people, especially with the way attention span is, might necessarily get into. But that's the beauty of music. That's the beauty of what we have going on here with Elvenking. This is something you want to listen through the whole entire way. You want to listen from top to bottom and get that full feel of it. Because not only have they created that experience and you want to be a part of it, but each song amplifies that experience, and the way they use folk metal as well. The way they implement folk music and how they've learned how to do that over the course of almost 30 years is incredible. Thinking about where they implemented all these pieces, from thinking about the Nordic countries that have that folk music in there, from where they're closer to with Austria, maybe southern Germany, and Switzerland, just where those mountain areas are and how folk music plays off in there, but how the storytelling and the vibrance that folk music and Irish music can really bring forward. How is that going to impact your storytelling in metal? Where are you going to put that in there? Don't just throw it in there. Put it in there the way you're supposed to do it. Have the epic finale of the story, the revelation of all the mysteries, and they want the music for this chapter to be romantic and melancholic, yet still intense and super epic. It definitely is. I want to thank Ayden for coming to the podcast. When it comes to find Elvenking, script to the podcast below, link symbols for everything are there. So go follow them. Check out the album when it comes out. Check out what they're doing when they are playing shows. Maybe Japan, coming to the US soon. Go check it out. Beyond that, though, be sure to follow the Corporate Garage Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, links to the podcast below. Hit subscribe if you're on YouTube right down here. Hit follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or subscribe, whichever one it is. Be sure to like these episodes. I'll push in the algorithm. And again, check out Elvenking. Thank you, Ayden. It's a beautiful time. On that note, that's going to be everything. Watch listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. That was a big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah!